Hi, everyone. Welcome to Let's Talk Climate. I'm Jennifer Giordano, and today we're bringing you a special research episode. We'll be taking a look at our latest American Climate Perspective survey titled Severe Weather Drives Climate Concerns. I'm joined by Nicole Hill, who co-authored the report along with ecoAmerica Executive Director Megan Spicer. Let's kick off this episode with a few questions. Nicole, unfortunately, across the country, Americans are experiencing severe weather this summer. Can you tell us why ecoAmerica conducted this research and why is it important?
Hi, Jennifer. Thank you for that introduction. And yes, absolutely. This summer, Americans in the West continue to battle wildfires. It seems like every day folks are being evacuated from their homes as the wildfires expand. In the South, communities just experienced Hurricane Ida, which was tied for the fifth strongest hurricane to ever hit the US mainland. And today, reports are still coming in on the historic flooding resulting from Hurricane Ida on the East Coast, especially in New York, and New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. And it's important to remember, too, that at the start of the summer, the Pacific Northwest experienced a record-breaking heat wave. So I do want to take a moment to recognize the heartbreaking lives lost in these events and recognize the hardship, the damage, and the challenges that have resulted across the country. ecoAmerica conducted this research to see if the connection between climate change and severe weather is being made, how Americans are feeling about that connection, and their awareness. What are we noticing in terms of the events occurring? I'm really grateful to be here today to share the findings. And this research is very important because, as frightening as it may be, severe weather is a component of climate change, and it's critical to understand how people in the United States are thinking about it.
Right. Thank you, Nicole. Will you kick us off with the first key findings?
Sure thing. Before I officially dive into the findings, I do want to thank everybody who's tuning in. The methodology, the top lines, and the full report can be found on ecoAmerica's website and are also linked in the video description below. I'll share that this report was fielded on July 7th and July 8th, and it yielded 1,100 national respondents. In interpreting the survey results, it is important to note that all sample surveys are subject to possible sampling error, and the margin of error for this sample is plus or minus 3%. So now I can dive in. This first graph shows a key finding that 78% of Americans are more concerned about climate change as a result of severe weather, while only 22% are not. You can see that this concern comes with higher intensity, as 44% of Americans say severe weather has made them a lot more concerned, 10 percentage points more than the 34% who say severe weather has made them somewhat more concerned.
Okay. Thanks, Nicole. It sounds like some Americans are making the connection between severe weather and climate change, right?
Yes, that brings me to our next slide. ecoAmerica's research finds that majorities are linking severe weather to climate change. We asked our sample, how much do you think climate change is strengthening or increasing the frequency of extreme weather events like wildfires, floods, extreme heat, hurricanes, and tornadoes? And over 3/4 of Americans say that climate change is strengthening or increasing the frequency of them. That's 76%. And then when we look at how much, 42% of Americans say a lot more, and 34% say somewhat more. You can see on this graph that the vast majority of Democrats, 88% of them, are making the connection between climate change and severe weather, as are 76% of independents. And while fewer, over half, 58% of Republicans say climate change is responsible too, with 1 in 5 Republicans believing climate change impacts these events a lot more, and nearly double that, 38%, saying somewhat more.
Okay. Thanks for explaining the variation by political party. What about regional differences?
Sure. So we know that climate change impacts people differently depending on where they live, and what you experience can also influence your perspective. So ecoAmerica wanted to take a look at what folks in different regions of the country were noticing in terms of severe weather. We asked the sample if they had noticed more specific severe weather events, either locally or nationally, over the past few years. And what was found is that Americans in all areas of the country are noticing increases in climate impacts. However, they notice most the specific weather events that impact their local community. Extreme heat is the #1 severe weather event noticed by Americans. You can see here 79% say they've noticed more extreme heat and heat waves in the past few years. Americans in the West and in the Northeast, places that have both experienced dangerous summer temperatures, indicate even higher levels of awareness at 83% and 82% respectively. Also, as dozens of wildfires spread across the regions, Americans in the West also report noticing more severe wildfires. That's 82%. Americans in the Northeast top other regions and noticing more severe floods, 68%. And like I just said, they're experiencing a historic flood right now. More severe hurricanes are getting noticed by Americans in the South. 65% of them have noticed more severe hurricanes. Again, Hurricane Ida just hit the South. And just over half of Americans, 51%, are noticing more severe tornadoes.
It makes sense that people report noticing those specific weather events that are impacting their region. Can you share with the listeners the findings on age and political affiliation for this question in particular?
Yes, absolutely. Beyond regional variations, ecoAmerica's research finds that larger percentages of Democrats report noticing more severe weather in the past few years than independents and Republicans. Notable gaps include a 26-point difference between Democrats and Republicans in noticing more tornadoes. So 63% of Democrats report noticing more extreme tornadoes compared to 37% of Republicans. There's a 24-point difference that unfolds between Democrats and Republicans when it comes to noticing floods. 72% of Democrats say they've noticed more extreme floods in the past few years compared to 48% of Republicans. And then we see a 20-point difference in noticing more extreme heat. Once again, however, across the board, extreme heat is noticed more than others, both when we look at political party and when we look at age groups. So that brings me to the graph to the right. You can see differences in age groups unfold primarily between Americans over 60 and Americans between 18 and 29. While younger Americans have really propelled climate action in the United States, Americans over 60 years in age report noticing increased severe weather more than all other age groups. And you can see too, awareness increases fairly proportionately with age across all of the severe weather categories. But the largest difference here is 21 points between Americans over 60 noticing more severe tornadoes compared to those 18 to 29. So to sum up the findings, severe weather makes the majority of Americans more concerned about climate change. Americans say climate change is making severe weather more stronger and more frequent, and they notice the severe weather events in the regions where they live. That's all that I have to share today. And I want to thank all the listeners for their interest and attention. And I also want to wish you all safety as we brace for severe weather this summer.
Agreed. Thank you for your work here, Nicole. It's clear we need to accelerate our efforts. Americans can turn their concern into action by signing the Momentous campaign. We've linked it below in the video description. We encourage you to go to ecoAmerica.org to download the full report and social toolkit. Please join us in sharing these findings with your network. Let us know if you have any feedback on this episode or ideas about future topics. We're at research@ecoamerica.org. And join us every Thursday for live episodes of Let's Talk Climate. Engage with us using the hashtag Let's Talk Climate. You can subscribe and follow at ecoAmerica on social for the latest research and resources on climate action and advocacy. Our next episode is September 16th, and it's titled Hot Communities, Cool Topics. We'll see you then.